The text message from my father was crystal clear. Family meeting 7:00 p.m. Non-negotiable. I stood at my parents' front door, hand hovering over the brass knocker, knowing whatever waited inside wouldn't be good. The perfectly manicured lawn and gleaming BMW in the driveway screamed success, the kind my family worshipped and I'd apparently failed to achieve. I'm Sophia, the black sheep of the Richardson family. While my siblings collected degrees and accolades like trading cards, I chose a different path, one that involved creating things with my hands and building something uniquely mine. The door swung open before I could knock. "You're late," my father said, his lips pressed into a thin line. "Everyone's waiting." I checked my watch, 6:58 p.m. In my family, anything less than 10 minutes early was considered late. The living room fell silent as I entered. My sister Claire sat primly on the edge of the leather sofa, her lawyer's briefcase by her feet. Emma, fresh from her hospital shift, still wore her scrubs like a badge of honor. Oliver, my younger brother, didn't even look up from his phone. My father stood by the fireplace, hands clasped behind his back like a general preparing for battle. "Sit down, Sophia," he commanded, gesturing to the lone armchair facing everyone else. The setup reminded me of those intervention shows on TV. "What's this about?" I asked, remaining standing. Claire reached into her briefcase and pulled out a document. "We've been discussing the family's future," she said in her courtroom voice. "And we've come to a decision, a necessary one. For the good of the family," my mother added, perching beside Emma. The document made its way into my hands. The legal jargon was dense, but certain phrases jumped out. Formal dissolution of familial ties, relinquishment of inheritance rights, termination of family association. "You're disowning me?" The words came out as a whisper. "It's not personal." Oliver finally looked up. "It's business." "Business?" I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet room. "I'm your daughter, your sister." "How is this not personal?" "Your choices reflect poorly on the family name," my father said. "Your little craft hobby, my business," I corrected. "Making trinkets in your apartment isn't a business," Emma scoffed. "It's embarrassing. Do you know how it feels when my colleagues ask what my sister does?" "We've given you every opportunity," my mother continued. "The best schools, connections, resources, and you've thrown it all away to play with glue and glitter." I looked down at the document again, my hands steady despite the earthquake in my chest. Years of subtle jabs, disappointed sighs, and backhanded compliments had prepared me for this moment. They'd never understood me, never tried to. "Where do I sign?" My mother blinked, clearly expecting tears or pleading. "Sophia, if you just reconsider your choices, where do I sign?" Claire pointed to the bottom of the page. "Initial here and sign here. There's a notary waiting in the study." 10 minutes later, it was done. I was no longer officially part of the Richardson family. The weight of their expectations, their judgment, their disapproval, all of it lifted from my shoulders. "I hope you understand," my father said as I headed for the door. "This is for the best." I turned back one last time, taking in their faces the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. "You know what's funny? You're so worried about the family name, about success and reputation, but you have no idea what I've actually built." "You never bothered to ask," my mother started. "Sophia." "No," I cut her off. "You've made your choice. Now you get to live with it." The door closed behind me with a soft click far too gentle for the magnitude of what had just happened. My phone buzzed, a notification from my business account. Another major order had come in, pushing my monthly revenue well into 6 figures again. I smiled as I walked to my car, thinking about the stack of orders waiting to be filled, the upcoming collaboration with a major retailer, and the feature article being written about my innovative approach to sustainable home decor. They wanted to cut me off? Fine. They'd learn soon enough what they'd thrown away. Success, after all, is the sweetest revenge. As I drove away from the house I'd grown up in, I didn't feel sadness or anger. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Freedom. Freedom to be exactly who I was without apology or explanation. Family, I realized, isn't about sharing a name or DNA. It's about who believes in you when no one else will. And I had people in my life who did exactly that. They just weren't the ones I was leaving behind. "You did what?" Jess nearly spilled her coffee across my workshop table. 3 days had passed since the disownment, and I'd finally gathered the courage to tell my best friend. Signed the papers without arguing, I said, carefully applying gold leaf to my latest creation. You should have seen their faces. They expected tears, begging, maybe a dramatic breakdown. But your inheritance, Soph, the family connections, all of it, just gone. I set down my tools and looked at her directly. What inheritance? A share in a car dealership I never wanted? The privilege of being told I'm a disappointment at every family dinner? Zach burst through the door, his laptop clutched to his chest like a lifeline. My marketing guru and business partner always had perfect timing. Soph, you need to see this. He spun his laptop around. Our latest collection just got picked up by Style and Home magazine. They're calling you Artisan Revolutionizing Sustainable Home Decor. Jess peered at the screen. Holy Soph, these numbers. Is that really how much you're making? That's just last month. Zach grinned. Wait until they see what we've got planned next. The eco-friendly packaging initiative alone is going to... My phone buzzed another order notification. Then another. And another. What's happening? I asked Zach. He refreshed his browser. The article just went live. We're trending on social media. The sustainable living community is going crazy over your recycled material techniques. I walked to the wall of shelves displaying my latest pieces, handcrafted home decor, made entirely from reclaimed materials. Each piece told a story. Discarded wood transformed into elegant wall art, salvaged metal reformed into striking sculptures, forgotten glass reborn as stunning light fixtures. We need to scale up, Zach said, already typing furiously. I'm getting inquiries from 3 major retailers. They want exclusive collections. Jess squeezed my shoulder. And your family has no idea? They never bothered to look, I said, picking up a piece I'd finished that morning, a delicate wind chime made from sea glass and driftwood, too busy being embarrassed by their crafty daughter to notice she built a 6-figure business from scratch. 7 figures, actually, Zach corrected, still typing after these deals go through. My phone rang unknown number. Hello, is this Sophia Richardson? A woman's crisp voice asked. This is Catherine Chen from Business Forward magazine. We're doing a feature on emerging entrepreneurs in the sustainable luxury market. Your name keeps coming up. I caught Zach's eye. He gave me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear more, I said, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. We're particularly interested in your journey, young female entrepreneur, innovative approach to sustainability, rapid growth. Would you be open to an interview? Cover story potential. I thought about my family's faces when they saw me on the cover of a national business magazine. Absolutely. When were you thinking? After setting up the interview, I turned to find both Jess and Zach staring at me. What? Business Forward? Zach whispered. Do you know how huge this is? Their features can make or break companies. Jess hugged me tight. This is it, Soph. This is your moment to show them all. I pulled away and picked up my tools again. No. This is my moment to show myself. I nodded at the workbench. I've got orders to fill. The next few weeks passed in a blur. I hired 3 assistants to help with production. Zach expanded our online presence and negotiated deals with retailers. And Jess helped me prepare for the Business Forward interview. Tell me again about your inspiration, she said one evening, playing reporter. I held up my latest piece, a chandelier made from broken mirrors and copper wire. I see beauty in broken things, in the pieces others throw away. Everything has potential if you look at it the right way. That's it, she said softly. That's what makes your work special. You're not just making pretty things. You're telling stories of transformation. My phone buzzed with a text from Zach. Major department store wants to meet tomorrow. Be ready. I looked around my workshop, once a dusty garage, now a thriving studio. Orders lined the walls, half-finished pieces waited on workbenches, and the air smelled of wood polish and possibility. You know what the best part is? I said to Jess, who was admiring the chandelier. I'm doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. What they called a hobby is now an empire in the making. Speaking of them, Jess hesitated. Have you heard anything? Not a word. I picked up my tools again. But they will soon enough. Everyone will. The chandelier caught the setting sun, sending fractured light dancing across the walls. Like my life, I thought broken pieces creating something unexpectedly beautiful. Time to get back to work, I said, reaching for another piece of salvaged copper. These orders won't fill themselves. There she is. Catherine from Business Forward rushed toward me, her heels clicking against the studio floor. Our cover girl! She thrust the magazine into my hands. My face stared back at me, surrounded by my most intricate pieces. The headline read, "The Queen of Sustainable Luxury, How Sophia Richardson Turned Trash into Treasure." The response has been incredible, Catherine gushed. Social media's exploding. 3 major networks want interviews. Zach burst in, waving his phone. Soph, the website crashed from traffic. We've got waitlists forming for every piece, and that department store deal, they doubled their initial offer. I traced my finger over the magazine cover, still struggling to believe it was real. The article detailed everything my creative process, business model, revenue growth, everything except my family's rejection. The Today Show called, Catherine continued. They want you for Monday morning, prime slot. My phone lit up with a text from Claire, my first contact with family in 2 months. We need to talk. Urgent family matters. I showed the message to Jess, who'd been quietly organizing orders in the corner. Funny how you're suddenly family again, she muttered. Another text arrived, this time from Emma. Saw the magazine. Why didn't you tell us? Call me ASAP. Ignore them, Zach said, glancing at my phone. We've got bigger things to focus on. The Singapore collector wants to commission 3 custom pieces, 6 figures each. Catherine cleared her throat. Speaking of figures, Forbes is interested in featuring you in their under 30 list. The notifications kept coming. Oliver, Dad's upset. You should call her. Then my father, we should discuss your recent publicity. Your story's inspiring people, Catherine said, oblivious to my family drama. Young entrepreneur refuses to follow conventional path. Proves everyone wrong it's resonating. Especially the sustainability angle. Zach added, the video of you collecting materials from demolition sites went viral. People love seeing the transformation process. My phone buzzed again, my mother this time. Family dinner Sunday, 7 p.m. We have much to discuss. Jess read the message over my shoulder. You're not going, right? I set the phone down and picked up a piece of sea glass, turning it over in my hands. Remember what you said about my work, Jess? About seeing beauty in broken things? Soph, no. They don't deserve, I'm going, I cut her off, but not for the reasons they think. The rest of the week was a whirlwind. The Today Show interview went viral, orders flooded in faster than we could handle them, and I hired 5 more assistants and leased additional workspace. Look at these numbers, Zach said during our Friday meeting. We've exceeded our annual projection in just 2 months. The sustainable luxury market can't get enough of your work. The waiting list for custom pieces is 6 months long. Even with the premium pricing, one of my assistants added. I nodded, only half listening. Sunday's dinner loomed in my mind. Then my phone lit up with an email that changed everything. Holy, I whispered. Zach looked up. What? The Museum of Modern Art. They want to feature my work in their upcoming exhibition on sustainable art. The studio erupted in cheers. Jess hugged me tight. See, this is what happens when you believe in yourself. When do they want to meet? Zach asked, already pulling up his calendar. Next week. In New York, I laughed. They're sending a private jet. Sunday arrived too quickly. As I pulled up to my parents' house, I noticed all their cars were already there, the whole family. Right on time as usual. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Catherine. Breaking news. Your Business Forward featured just won U.S. Magazine Story of the Year. Congratulations. I smiled, tucking the phone away. Perfect timing. The door opened before I could knock. My mother stood there, looking exactly as she had the night they disowned me, except now her eyes held something new. Desperation. Sophia, darling. She stepped forward for a hug I didn't return. We've missed you. Behind her, I could see the rest of the family in the living room. Claire with her briefcase again. Emma pretending to read something on her phone. Oliver actually looking at me this time. My father still by his beloved fireplace. Have you? I asked, stepping past her into the house. Or did you miss what I represent now? The room fell silent. On the coffee table, I spotted copies of Business Forward. My face stared up at all of us, a testament to everything they'd dismissed. We should talk, my father said, his voice lacking its usual authority. About the future. About family. I sat in the same chair they'd put me in months ago when they decided I wasn't good enough to be part of their family. Yes, I agreed, smoothing my designer dress paid for with my little craft hobby money. Let's talk about the future. The silence in the living room was thick enough to cut. My mother bustled around pouring tea nobody asked for, while my father cleared his throat repeatedly. Your work is impressive, Claire finally said, tapping the magazine cover. The profit margins mentioned in the article are quite remarkable. Remarkable? I raised an eyebrow. I thought it was just a hobby, playing with glue and glitter. Wasn't that what you called it, Emma? Emma shifted uncomfortably in her seat. We may have been hasty in our judgments. Hasty? I took a sip of tea. You disowned me. Had it notarized. About that, my father stepped forward. We've been discussing as a family, and we believe it's time to rectify that unfortunate situation. Unfortunate situation? I repeated. Is that what we're calling it now? Claire reached for her briefcase, always the lawyer. I've drawn up papers to nullify the previous agreement. We can have it done today. The timing seems convenient, I said, watching their faces. Right after the magazine cover, the TV appearances, the museum exhibition announcement. Museum exhibition? Oliver perked up. Which museum? MoMA, I said casually, enjoying their shocked expressions. They're flying me to New York next week. Private jet. My mother dropped a teacup. It shattered on the hardwood floor, but nobody moved to clean it up. Sophia? My father's voice took on the tone he used for important business deals. There's something else we need to discuss. The dealership is struggling, I finished for him. I know. I did my research. The shift toward electric vehicles hit you hard. Banks aren't as friendly as they used to be. The color drained from his face. I have good financial advisors now. They keep me informed about potential opportunities. Then you understand, Claire jumped in. The family business needs to evolve. Your sustainable approach, your media presence, it could be exactly what we need. I laughed, the sound echoing in the tense room. So that's what this is about. You don't want me back. You want my success to save you. That's not fair, Emma protested. We're family, are we? I stood up, walking to the fireplace where family photos still hung, none of them including me. Because 3 months ago, in this very room, you made it very clear that I wasn't family anymore. People make mistakes, my mother said softly. We're trying to make it right. No. I turned to face them. You're trying to save yourselves. The dealership's facing bankruptcy, isn't it, Dad? And Claire, that partner position you were promised, it fell through when your biggest client left? Emma, St. Mary's Hospital is cutting staff. And Oliver, your research funding got pulled. They stared at me, shocked at how much I knew. Like I said, good advisors. We could help each other, my father insisted. Pool our resources. The Richardson name still means something in this city. My name means something, I corrected him. My work means something. And I did that without your help. Actually, I did it despite your active discouragement. My phone buzzed a text from Zach. Singapore Collector doubled their offer again. Says price is no object. I have a meeting, I said, gathering my things, with people who believed in me before the magazine covers and TV spots. Sophia, please. My mother grabbed my arm. We're sorry. We were wrong. What more can we say? I gently removed her hand. You know what's interesting about my work? I take broken things that people throw away and turn them into something valuable. But some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Some relationships, once shattered, stay that way. You're really going to hold a grudge? Oliver asked. After we've apologized? Apologized? I walked to the door. All I've heard are business propositions and convenient excuses. Not one of you has actually said you're proud of what I've built, or that you were wrong about my choices. You just want what I have now. That's not true, Claire started. Save it. I cut her off. Keep your legal papers and your business proposals. I'm doing fine on my own. At the door, I turned back one last time. You know what the worst part is? If you'd supported me from the beginning, I would have helped you without hesitation. Family meant everything to me. But you taught me something valuable when you disowned me. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. I walked out, leaving them with their broken teacup and shattered pride. My phone buzzed again just this time. How'd it go? Exactly as expected, I texted back. They want what I have, not who I am. Their loss, she replied. Studio's packed with orders. Want to come help? Pizza on me. I smiled, starting my car. On my way. Family dinner's overrated anyway. The sun was setting as I drove away, casting long shadows behind me. Like the pieces I worked with, I'd been discarded but found my own way to shine. Some might call it karma. I called it justice. The text came 3 days later, dinner tonight, please. Dad, I showed it to Zach during our morning meeting. Think he'll actually say please in person? Don't go, he said, not looking up from his laptop. We've got the MoMA meeting tomorrow, and the Singapore contract terms need reviewing. I'm going. I picked up a piece of twisted metal, considering its potential. But this time, I choose the place. I texted back Lazur 8:00 p.m. I'll make reservations. The response was immediate. That's a bit expensive. I'm buying, I replied. Bring mom. Lazur was the kind of restaurant my parents used to brag about going to before the dealership started struggling. I arrived early, wearing a designer dress that cost more than my old monthly rent. They walked in right on time, looking uncomfortable. The maitre d' recognized me immediately. Miss Richardson, your usual table is ready. The chef sends his regards and asks if you'd like the special tasting menu he's prepared. My parents' eyes widened. I smiled. That would be lovely, Thomas. Thank you. Once seated, my father cleared his throat. Your usual table, I invest in local businesses, I said, sipping my water. This place included. The chef does amazing things with sustainable ingredients. My mother fidgeted with her napkin. Sophia, about Sunday, let's order first. I cut her off as the sommelier approached. The 82 Bordeaux, please. The whole bottle. My father's face paled. I knew he recognized the 4-figure wine. Now, I said after our glasses were filled. What's so urgent? They exchanged glances before my father spoke. The bank called in our loans. All of them. We have 30 days to either refinance or sell the dealership. And my mother jumped in. We've explored every option. Nobody's lending in this market. Not to car dealerships, I added. Especially not to dealerships without a clear transition plan to electric vehicles. The first course arrived tiny works of art on pristine plates. My parents barely touched theirs. We need help, my father said finally, the words seeming to physically pain him. Your help. Financial help, I clarified, not family reconciliation. Both, my mother insisted. We were wrong, Sophia. So wrong. Seeing what you've built, what you've become, what I've become. I set down my fork. I'm exactly who I was 3 months ago. The only difference is now I have money and influence. The second course arrived. My father still hadn't touched his first. We're not just asking for money, he said. We want to merge the businesses. Your vision, your sustainable approach, it could revolutionize the dealership. Electric vehicles, eco-friendly practices, and save the family name, I finished. That's what this is really about, isn't it? My mother reached for my hand. I let her take it, watching her face. We're losing everything, Sophia. The house, the business, our reputation. Like I lost my family. She withdrew her hand. The main course arrived perfectly cooked Wagyu beef. The chef stopped by personally to check on us. Everything is perfect, Antonio, I assured him. The new sustainable menu is brilliant. After he left, my father leaned forward. How much? Excuse me? To save the dealership, how much do you want? I laughed, the sound drawing glances from nearby tables. You still don't get it. This isn't about money. It never was. Then what do you want? He demanded, frustration breaking through his carefully maintained facade. I wanted you to love me for who I am, I said quietly. I wanted you to be proud of me before the magazine covers and TV spots. I wanted a family who saw my value without a dollar sign attached to it. The dessert arrived, a spectacular creation of sponge, sugar, and gold leaf. My mother started crying silently. We can change, she whispered. We can be better. I signaled for the check. Maybe you can, but here's the thing, I don't need you to anymore. I don't need your approval, your connections, or your name. I built something beautiful out of what you threw away. The bill came. I handed over my black card without looking at the total. So that's it? My father asked. You'll let the family business die? Let us lose everything? I stood up, smoothing my dress. You taught me an important lesson when you disowned me. Business is business. It's not personal. Sophia, please, my mother started. I have an early flight to New York tomorrow, I cut her off. The museum's sending a car at 6. Enjoy the rest of your dinner. It's already paid for. I walked out of Lazur, leaving them with their cold food and colder reality. My phone buzzed Jess, asking how it went. They finally said, "Please," I texted back. Too bad it was for the wrong reasons. The night air was cool on my face as I headed home. Tomorrow I'd be discussing my art in one of the world's premier museums. Tonight, I'd left my parents with the bill they never saw coming, the true cost of throwing away family for the sake of appearances. They offered, what? Jess nearly fell off her chair in my New York hotel suite. 20 million, I repeated, still staring at the contract MoMA's lawyers had presented for a permanent installation and consulting role on their sustainable art initiative. Holy, Zach whispered, pacing the room. That's not including the Singapore deals or the retail contracts. My phone buzzed Claire again. Dad's meeting with bankruptcy lawyers tomorrow. Please call. I ignored it, focusing on the Manhattan skyline outside my window. The museum's private car would arrive in an hour for the final contract signing. Your family's blowing up my phone too, Jess said. Your sister Emma came by the studio yesterday. What did she want? To explain, Adair sighed. Said they're about to lose the house. Oliver's moving back in with them since his research position got cut. Another text from my mother, please come home. We need to talk as a family. Zach stopped pacing. You know what's ironic? If they hadn't disowned you, your business wouldn't have grown this fast. You channeled all that hurt into your work. Speaking of work, Jess picked up a piece from my latest collection, a phoenix rising from twisted metal and broken glass. This is different, darker. It's for the museum installation, I said. I'm calling it Family Ties. My phone rang Dad. I let it go to voicemail. You could save them, Zach said quietly. 20 million would clear their debts with plenty left over. I could, I agreed. But should I? Jess stood up, walking to the phoenix sculpture. Remember what you told me when you started this? About seeing beauty in broken things? This is different, is it? She turned the piece, watching light play through the glass. Maybe this is your chance to transform something broken into something beautiful. My phone buzzed again, a text from Oliver. They're auctioning off Mom's jewelry tomorrow. Even her wedding ring. They made their choice, I said, but my voice wavered. Zach sat down, pulling up something on his laptop. Look at this. I've been running numbers. You could buy the dealership for pennies on the dollar right now. Transform it into an electric vehicle showroom. Your sustainable brand plus their existing infrastructure, it could work. But only if you wanted to, Jess added. A knock at the door interrupted us, a courier with a thick envelope. Inside was a letter from my father, handwritten, Sophia, I've written this letter 100 times in my head. Nothing sounds right. Nothing can excuse what we did. You were always the strongest of us, the most genuine. We were too blind to see it. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for a chance to be the father I should have been. To be the family you deserved. We're losing everything, but that's not why I'm writing. We lost what mattered most the day we signed those papers. We lost you. I'm proud of you not because of your success, but because of who you are. Who you've always been. Love, Dad. The paper shook in my hands. Soph? Jess asked softly. He said he's proud of me, I whispered. For the first time in my life. Zach closed his laptop. The museum contract doesn't need to be signed today. We could postpone. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from Emma. Mom's in the hospital. Stress and exhaustion. She keeps asking for you. I looked at the phoenix sculpture. Its broken pieces forming something new, something stronger. Call the car, I said. We're making a stop before the museum. Where? Jess asked, though her smile suggested she already knew. The bank. I need to make some arrangements. And then? Zach was already dialing. I picked up the phoenix, carefully wrapping it. Then we're going to save a family. But on my terms. What are you thinking? Jess asked. A new company. Sustainable luxury vehicles. Electric showrooms with my art installations. A complete reinvention of what the family business means. With you in charge, Zach added. With me in charge, I agreed. They want to be family again? Fine, but we do it my way. No more hiding who I am. No more shame about being different. The prodigal daughter returns. Jess smiled. But this time, she's the one with the power. I looked at my father's letter again. Sometimes the things we break can be rebuilt stronger. But first, everyone has to admit they're broken. The car arrived as I finished packing the Phoenix. It seemed fitting this piece about resurrection would now witness one. Ready? Jess asked. I nodded, tucking the letter into my pocket. Time to show them what family really means. And what it costs. We headed down to the waiting car, the Phoenix carefully cradled in my arms. Its glass wings caught the sunlight, sending fragments of light dancing across the walls, broken pieces coming together to create something unexpected. Something beautiful. Just like us. The hospital waiting room fell silent as I walked in, the Phoenix sculpture still in my arms. My siblings looked up from their phones, their faces a mix of surprise and relief. You came? Claire said, standing. Where is she? I asked. Room 304, Emma answered. Dad's with her. Oliver stepped forward. The doctors say it's mostly exhaustion and… Save it. I cut him off. We're having a family meeting now. Conference room down the hall, all of you. They exchanged glances but followed me. The Phoenix found its temporary home on the conference room table, its shadows dancing across their tired faces. Before we see Mom, I said, pulling out a stack of papers, we're going to get some things straight. Is that… Claire started, recognizing legal documents. A new company structure? Yes! I laid out the papers. The dealership gets restructured into Phoenix Electric, sustainable luxury vehicles. I'll clear the debts, invest in electric infrastructure, and integrate my art installations into the showrooms. Their eyes widened at the numbers, but I continued. There are conditions, of course. Of course there are, Oliver muttered. First, I'm CEO, non-negotiable. Dad becomes Chairman Emeritus advisory role only. Each of you gets shares based on your contribution to the new vision, not family ties. Wendy reached for the papers. I pulled them back. I'm not finished. Second condition, the old family dynamics die today. No more judgment about life choices. No more forcing people into boxes they don't fit in. Is this revenge? Emma asked quietly. No. I picked up the Phoenix. It's resurrection. But first, you need to understand what you did. I faced each of them. Claire, you drafted the papers to disown me. Emma, you mocked my little hobby every chance you got. Oliver, you couldn't even look at me that night. Each of you chose status over sister. The room fell silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. We were wrong, Claire whispered. Say it louder. We were wrong. She stood up, tears in her eyes. I was wrong. I let my own insecurities about success blind me. You built something amazing while I chased other people's definitions of achievement. Emma joined her. I was jealous. You had the courage to follow your passion while I followed expectations. I'm so sorry, Soph. Oliver remained seated. I was a coward, he said simply. I knew they were wrong about you, but I stayed quiet. It was easier. I set the Phoenix down. That's a start. Now about Mom and Dad, the door opened. My father stood there, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I heard everything, he said. The nurses said you were here, and he trailed off, staring at the Phoenix. Dad? No. He held up his hand. My turn. He walked to the sculpture, touching it gently. This is beautiful, like everything you create. I was too proud, too stuck in my ways to see it. To story 2, at precisely 2:47 a.m. My phone's screen was illuminated by a text message from my mother. Come home right now. You're needed by your sister. Those words burnt into my retinas as I peered at them. A familiar mix of anger and resignation made my hands shake. My name is Adeline, and I've spent 25 years being the responsible one, the trustworthy one, the one who always comes rushing when summoned. It was meant to be different tonight. I was celebrating getting my dream job tonight. Senior marketing director for one of New York's premier agencies. Don't let her spoil this for you, Natasha murmured, passing another glass of champagne across the table. We were the last ones remaining at the pub, our earlier celebration with coworkers having trickled down to just us two. You've worked too hard for this. I allowed the bubbles to pop on my mouth as I took a deep gulp. You're not understanding. Willow is most likely experiencing another crisis. She was unable to choose which opulent apartment to rent with her father's money the last time. Before that, it was because her lover abandoned her for being too high maintenance. Additionally, your mother anticipates that you will drop everything to mend it. Natasha's disapproving tone was evident in her voice. That's what I do. I have always done it. With my thumb over the call button, I retrieved my mother's contact details. Don't. Natasha took hold of my phone. At least wait till dawn. However, I was aware. Mom's voice would get more and more distraught as the calls continued, until I caved. I dialed her number. Mom's voice finally cracked over the speaker. Where have you been? Your sister may lose her entry-level job as a result of downsizing at her employer. She is inconsolable. I touched my temple with my fingertips. The middle of the night, Mom. Now, what do you want me to do about it? You must return home and assist her in obtaining employment. She wants assistance finding an apartment while you're at it. You are aware of how overwhelmed she gets with paperwork, and the lease expires next month. I can't, Mom. I just agreed to a job offer in New York. In 3 weeks, I will begin. When she spoke again, the quiet on the other end was deafening. She spoke in a chilly tone. You're putting your career above your family. Mom, it's more than just a job. It's my future and my career. I've been working for this chance for years. You're needed here for your sister. Adeline, family comes first. Always. She stopped, and I could virtually feel her pursing her lips in displeasure. In addition, Chicago has a large number of marketing positions. Something local is available. I caught Natasha's look across the table. She was giving a forceful shake of her head. I'm not going back, Mama. Not this time. Then you give me no other option. Mom's voice grew stern. You may either consider yourself no longer a member of this family, or you can come home and assist your sister. The words struck me like a punch to the body. Are you really issuing me a deadline? I'm being practical. Through college, you have been supported by your father and myself. Assisted you in finding your first flat. And you pay us back like this? By leaving your sister behind when she most needs you. Reminding her that I would work 3 jobs while attending college made me want to shout. While my sister continued to live off their credit cards, at the age of 22, Willow received a free ride, and I paid back every dime they had given me. I hung up after muttering, I'll think about it. Natasha squeezed my hand as she stretched across the table. You are aware of your obligations, correct? Slowly, I nodded. I have a plan in mind. I'm not going to argue about it, but I'm also not going back. What are you saying? Forgetting the champagne, I took out my laptop. Tomorrow, I'm purchasing a one-way ticket to New York. Don't argue. No big confrontation. I'll leave a letter outlining everything for them. God damn, Natasha muttered. You're actually succeeding. Observe me. I booked the flight with my fingers flying across the keyboard. Tonight marks the conclusion of 25 years of being the family doormat. My phone buzzed once more as I verified the transaction. Willow texted, Please come home, Addie. Without you, I'm not sure what I'll do in my life for the first time. I didn't react. Rather, I launched a fresh document and started typing. The words came naturally now, Dear Willow, Dad, and Mom. Feelings that have been repressed for years are now being expressed on paper. They would wake up the next day to see me gone. They would ultimately have to deal with the repercussions of their conduct tomorrow. My new life would start tomorrow. However, I needed to write a letter tonight. When I completed the letter, the sun had not yet risen. My hands were shaking when I sealed the package. 3 paragraphs of harsh honesty distilled all the hardships of my existence. Go through it. I informed Natasha, who had spent the night with me. If it's too severe, let me know. She opened the book and started reading out loud. By the time you read this, Willow, my parents and I will be traveling to New York. I understand that you didn't want this to happen, but I can't keep burning myself alive to keep other people warm. Mom, you've always said family comes first, but you never meant the complete family, just Willow. While I was a college student and worked 3 jobs. You labeled me selfish for not having time to help her with her homework. You rejected my first promotion because Willow was experiencing boy problems that seemed to require my urgent care. Mom's demands have been just as harmful as your quiet dad. You never once defended me, although you saw me struggle and give up everything for Willow. You become complicit by passively accepting the situation. I also adore you, Willow. You're 22 years old, though. You need to mature. Everyone else doesn't have to give their life to solve your troubles. It's no longer cute that you can't manage the responsibilities of an adult. It's draining. I have no intention of hurting any of you. I'm selecting myself for the first time in my life, which is why I'm doing this. I've agreed to take the job in New York. I've signed an apartment contract. I'm beginning over. Do not attempt to shame me into returning. Don't use threats of cutting me off to attempt to control me. Since I was 18, I have been self-sufficient. Nothing will change except that I'll finally be free to live my own life. You and I must be on equal footing if you wish to continue our connection. I will no longer be expected to sacrifice all for Willow. No more journeys of guilt. No more ultimatums. I'm hoping you'll comprehend one day. Adeline, love. Natasha's eyes widened as she looked up from the letter. God damn. Adeline, this is fantastic. I zipped up my suitcase already packed with the necessities. Later, the rest would be dispatched. It's not too much, do you? It's precisely enough. She assisted me in getting my stuff to her vehicle. Do you really think I shouldn't take you to the airport? No, I'm going to take an Uber. Staying up with me all night has been more than enough for you. In the pre-dawn darkness, the trip to my parents' house felt unreal. Across the street, Natasha pulled up, not using the headlights. I took the letter and snuck out. Willow spent hours on her phone while the garden mom diligently maintained the porch swing, which made our family home appear almost mockingly calm. Dad's spotlessly clean automobile in the parking lot. It was all just as it had always been. In order for Mom to find the letter during her morning coffee routine, I put it on the kitchen counter. I kept my hand on the envelope for a second. Then I made myself look away. My phone began to vibrate. Willow texted again. Why don't you respond, Addie? Mom is quite unhappy. I turned my phone off. When I got back to Natasha's car, the Uber was already there. You're doing the right thing, she whispered as she gave me a hard hug. When you get to the airport, give me a call. Everything happened so quickly. At the gate, security coffee is waiting. Reality didn't really hit me until I was securely fastened to my seat. Do you want to have a drink? I was brought back to reality by the voice of the flight attendant. Please, water. As the plane lifted off, my speech sounded weird to me. I saw my mother discovering the ladder. After feeling upset and furious, she would contact Willow right away to console herself. Even if he might have felt a little guilty, Dad would read it quietly and wait to see how Mom responded. Willow as well. When she realized her safety net was gone, I imagined her face crumpling. While a part of me longed for her, a larger part of me was incredibly relieved. 25 years of serving as everyone's emotional support system vanished along with the city behind the clouds. I kept my phone off in my bag, gathering angry texts and missed calls. I wasn't prepared for it. Visiting New York for the first time, the old woman beside me politely inquired. No, I said, forcing a tiny smile. However, this is my first time staying there. I felt something I hadn't felt in years, as the sun finally rose above the horizon, illuminating the clouds with vivid pinks and oranges. I hope whatever comes next. No matter what storm I just let loose, I was finally in control of my own ship at least. They wrote the letter, the die was rolled. There was no going back now. I was struck by New York, like a wall of color and sound. I've been in my new life 3 weeks, and I was still in shock that I had really done it. Although my Brooklyn studio apartment was much smaller than my room back home, I owned every square inch of it. Made with my own funds, furnished to my own preferences, and fortunately devoid of family strife. Adeline, Miguel. I had my new boss peek into my office. Have a moment? I minimized my email fast. Mom left 37 unread messages, Dad left 12, and Willow left 63. Of course, I was still in awe of the Manhattan vista from Miguel's office. He motioned me to take a seat. The presentation for the Johnson campaign was excellent. The client admired your novel viewpoint. Thank you. But he held up a hand. You seem distracted. Everything okay? I paused. Miguel had been nothing but supportive since I'd started, but I kept my personal life private at work. Just adapting to the city and dodging calls from Chicago. He grinned knowingly. All week long, your phone has been ringing during meetings. Is it that evident just to someone who did the same thing 20 years ago? He leaned back in his chair. Left Puerto Rico against my family's wishes. It was 2 years before they spoke to me again. How did you respond to it? By recalling my reasons for leaving. On that subject, he moved a file across his desk. Next week, we will make a pitch to Nike. Do you want to take the lead? My heart leaped. Are you serious? That's big. You deserve it. Just... He pointed to my phone, which was beeping once more. Deal with whatever that is. Clear your brain. Back in my office, I finally turned on my phone. Sound. Willow's voicemail came on instantly. Please, Addie. She spoke with tears in her eyes. I was laid off. I missed too many deadlines, they complained. Mom's making me move back home, but I can't. This is not how I can go backward. I need your assistance. Please call me back. My fingers was trembling as I hit the erase button. A second voicemail began. Adeline Gibson. Mom's tone was abrasive. Your sister is coming apart and you're playing professional lady in New York. How dare you forsake your family like this? That letter was self-centered and cruel. Call me back ASAP. Remove. My phone rang. Natasha's face flashed up on screen. Finally, a call. I desired to take. Your sister arrived at my residence just now. She didn't introduce herself. What? Why? I'm trying to find you. Of course. She's a complete disaster. Adeline, there is mascara everywhere. Going out in PJ pants. This time, she was actually fired. I slumped in my seat. No longer my concern. I knew, but Natasha hesitated. She reported experiencing panic attacks. Perhaps we were too severe. We? That letter was written by me alone. You understand what I mean. You've seen me sacrifice my life for them for years, so I gave you encouragement. I was on the verge of yelling. Did she explain her termination? The deadlines that were missed? The never-ending drama? No. However, allow me to explain what transpired. She was on Instagram more often than she was working. Every time she had a bad date, she called in sick. Just as she expected me to fix everything else in her life, she expected everyone else to cover for her. I jumped when I heard a knock on my door. Miguel was standing there looking worried. I spoke more softly. Natasha, I have to leave. Don't allow her to coerce you into giving her my address, though. How about your father? She asked hastily. He has also been inquiring about you. Dad defended me for 25 years, nor am I responsible for his guilt. After hanging up, I faced Miguel. I apologize for it. He took a seat on the other side of me. You know, when I left home, I thought I was just running away. Years passed before I realized that I was genuinely racing in the direction of something greater. Has your family ever comprehended? Finally, but only after I gave up attempting to explain things to them. He tapped the Nike file. Sometimes the best retribution is success. Once more, my phone buzzed. A text from Willow found out you're working at Marshall & Brooks. I showed Miguel the message, and I suppose that family is nothing in comparison to a corner office. She's attempting to find me. Do you want my opinion? Pay attention to the Nike pitch. Pour everything into it. The best boundary is success. It lets them know you're doing well without them. I elongated my back. You're correct. Can you show me the brief once more? As I engaged myself in work, my phone kept vibrating with messages from home. However, something more powerful took precedence over the guilt for the first time. Determination. Give them a panic. Allow them to experience dealing with their own issues. I needed to make a great presentation. I hardly had time to enjoy the success of the Nike pitch when Natasha's frantic phone arrived. Your mom came to work today, she added, her voice tense with nervousness. Adeline, she's growing desperate. I was surrounded by the nighttime bustle of the city as I made my way home from the metro. What was it she desired? What are your thoughts? She's attempting to use guilt to get me to provide your address. It's hardly the worst part, though. Natasha hesitated. Willow is definitely spiraling. Last week, she totaled her vehicle. I stopped walking. What? Was she injured? No, just her pride in Dad's credit card. She was texting while driving. Here's the problem, though. Your parents declined to purchase a new one for her. Really? As I processed this, I leaned against a structure. Willow was truly turned down by her parents. They can't afford it, apparently. Your dad's company is struggling. My phone beeped as Willow moved back home. There's another call coming in. I have to leave, Mom. Natasha. Thank you for informing me. I took my mother's call. I am bracing myself. Hi there? At last, her voice had changed. More strained, less dominating. We must discuss what you have done to this family, Adeline. What have I done? I gave an astonished laugh. Mom, I made a professional decision. Ultimatums weren't given by me. Your sister is disintegrating. She had to return home. In addition to suffering anxiety episodes, she is unable to obtain employment. Did you wish for that? I gripped my phone more tightly. I wanted to be independent and not Willow's constant fallback option. I am your daughter and she is your sister. Strangers who were passing by turned their attention as my words reverberated off the buildings. But you never gave a damn about my nervousness, did you? When I was working 3 jobs in college, when I had to cancel my own plans continuously to save Willow, there was a long pause. Mom's voice became softer as she spoke again. You must return home for us. Only for a short time. Assist her in standing up again. No, please, Adeline. Your father's company is having trouble. We are no longer able to help her as we once did. You want me to take over now that you are unable to enable her? I resumed my stroll. Quicker now. Mom, that's not going to happen. You're being self-centered. Well, I'm succeeding. I recently secured the largest account of my professional life. I live my own life and have my own place. This is the first time I'm prioritizing myself. It's also effective. Another silence then. Your dad would like to talk to you. Dad's voice, tentative as usual, came through. Princess. You are missed. I stumbled. Since I was little, my father had not referred to me as a princess. I realize we made a mistake, Dad. I realize I ought to have said and done more. Then why didn't you? It was easier not to rock the boat. But witnessing what it's done to you, to all of us. He sighed heavily. Willow needs to become self-sufficient. She doesn't know how, but we can see that now. I'm not in charge of it. No, we own it. You were both let down by us in separate ways. His voice cracked. Just don't cut us off completely. Please. I reached my apartment complex, fumbling with my keys. Dad, I need time. Space to develop my own life without feeling bad about it. I get it. But, Adeline, indeed, I'm proud of you for being strong enough to leave, for succeeding. Years ago, I ought to have mentioned that. Tears pricked at my eyes. Regards, Dad. After hanging up, I sat on my building stoop, letting the city noise wash over me. My phone rang with a text from Willow. Everyone is upset with me, and you are solely to blame. I despise you. A few minutes later, I apologize. I don't hate you. I really don't know how to do this without you. I started typing. Removed. It. Started again. At last. It will come to you. You underestimate your strength. Then I turned off my phone and headed upstairs to my flat. On my desk, the Nike contract stood waiting for my signature. As lead director, I had my first significant customer. Next to it was a framed snapshot. Natasha had taken the night before I went, my face sparkling with resolve and champagne. That girl in the photo had been terrified, but did it anyway. I should have been concentrating on her instead of the never-ending drama at home. My laptop pinged with an email from Miguel. Nike adores your concepts. Dinner tomorrow to celebrate. Yes, I answered with a smile. Let Willow sort out her own life for once. Allow Mom and Dad to bear the repercussions of their decisions. I needed to organize a party. At 11 p.m., someone knocked on the door of my flat on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anyone, and my heart nearly stopped when I looked through the peephole. Willow was standing there, holding a high-end suitcase that most likely cost more than my rent. Mascara ran down her face. You're in there, I know that. She called out, your lights on. I inhaled deeply before opening the door. You found my address, but how? Before I found a Brooklyn real estate agent who remembered you, I phoned all of them. She pushed inside the flat, past me. Nice location. Not that big, though. Willow, what are you doing here? With a thump, she dropped her suitcase. Parents are being uncooperative. My credit cards were frozen. I'm being forced to apply for jobs. Dad even recommended that I work as a barista. I work as a barista. I folded my arms. The horror. Avoid being sarcastic. This is serious. She fell down on my sofa. I thought maybe I could stay with you for a while, just till I sort things out. Not at all. Hurry up, Addie. We're sisters. Indeed, we are. That's precisely why you can't remain here. I stay standing, maintaining distance. Willow, you always act like this. You cause mayhem, then expect everyone else to fix it. It's unfair. No, how about when I graduate from college? You had a crisis because your boyfriend didn't like your dress, and mom had me skip the ceremony to take you shopping. Back then, I was young. You were 19. I worked my ass off for that degree, and I didn't even get to walk across the stage because you needed attention. Willow's bottom lip quivered. Why are you so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm telling the truth. I sat in the chair opposite her. Do you know what I was doing when mom called that night, demanding I come home to help you? She gave a head shake. I was celebrating winning this position, the largest chance of my career, and she wanted me to give it up because you might have to face penalties for once in your life. She wasn't asked to do that by me. No, you never ask Willow directly. Until someone fixes everything for you, you just cry and freak out. Abruptly, she got up and paced my tiny living room. What should I do then? Live with mom and dad forever? Be a barista. You're supposed to grow up, get a job, any job. Develop financial management skills. Give up expecting others to fix your issues. Easy for you to say. You have consistently been the ideal person, the accountable one, since I had to speak for myself. Rose. Do you think I wanted to work 3 jobs in college to miss out on parties and dating because I was too busy being your backup plan? Willow's face crumpled as she stopped pacing. I was unaware. You never had to consider anyone but yourself, so no, you didn't. Miguel texted me about tomorrow's meeting, and my phone buzzed. The real world, my new life, calling. You need to leave. I spoke aggressively. Go home, Willow. For once, confront your issues head on, she whispered. Mom was right. You've evolved. Are you chilly now? No, I'm simply done being everyone's safety net. I walked to the door and opened it. You can stay in a hotel tonight if you want, but you're not staying here. She reached for her bag, tears streaming freely now. I thought you loved me. I do love you. I'm no longer enabling you because of this. At the door, she turned back. What if I'm not able to? What if I don't succeed? You'll then take what you've learned and try again. Adults do just that. After she left, I sat on my couch shaking. Mom had already left 3 missed calls on my phone. Willow had obviously called her. I texted Natasha. Willow just showed up in my flat. She replied immediately. God damn, are you all right? Yes. Send her away. Do you feel like a monster? You're not a monster. You're teaching her the lesson your parents never did. I surveyed my apartment. Small, but mine paid for with my own money. My workstation is decorated to my personal style. Next to the Nike deal was a pile of other projects. My new life built on my own terms. My phone rang again. Mom. This time I turned it off totally. Tomorrow I had a meeting to prepare for tomorrow. I would continue creating my profession, my freedom, my future, and Willow for the first time in her life. She would have to make her own future too. Maybe that was the greatest gift I could give her, even if she couldn't see it yet. 2 months after Willow's surprise visit, Natasha's weekly update call brought surprising news. Your sister got a job, she said, the astonishment clear in her voice. I almost spilled my coffee. What sort of work? A dentistry office receptionist. Get this too. She's been there for 3 weeks already. I took a seat at the counter in my kitchen. You're joking. Not at all. Your sister is really there on time every day, despite your mom's constant complaints that it's beneath Willow. Whoa. I struggled to process this information. How are you aware of all of this? I ran into her at Starbucks. She was on her lunch break wearing scrubs and all. She appeared different, more grounded. Another call beeped on my phone. Miguel, I have to go. Natasha. Work call. Adeline. Miguel's voice was serious. Are you able to visit the office right now? I sat in his office 20 minutes later, looking at him in shock. Paris. The Nike ad was a huge success. They want their European launch to be handled by us, leading the team for 3 months in Paris. He bent over. This is a fantastic opportunity. When? Next week. I am aware that it is abrupt, but my dad texted me. Kindly make an emergency call. I choose to disregard it. I will. Are you certain? It's a significant shift, even for a short time. Dad texted me again. It's about my health. I need to talk. My hand froze over the phone. Miguel took note. Is everything all right? I'm not sure. Can I have 1 hour outside Miguel's office? I gave Dad a call. Princess. His voice was weak. I suffered a heart attack yesterday. The world tipped sideways. What? Why hadn't I received a call earlier? Your mom want to. However, I requested that she hold off until I could speak with you directly. He took a breath. It was a gentle one. I'm all right. There's more, though. What are you saying? The company. For months, I've been having difficulties. The tension? Well, the physicians advise I need to step back. Actually, Willow has been fantastic, Dad. He laughed feebly. She has been assisting with the documentation, mastering the fundamentals of business. While I heal, she wants to try running things. I took a seat firmly in a nearby chair. Willow is in charge of the company. She has evolved. Adeline, this wake-up call, losing you. It forced her to grow up. One more pause. Willow is really stepping up, but your mother is having a hard time accepting it. My throat constricted. Is it necessary for me to return home? No, Princess. That's why I waited to call. I didn't want you dropping everything and hurrying back, or managing. He gave a little cough. Willow insisted on taking care of things on her own, said that it was time for her to accept accountability. Unexpectedly, I brushed away tears. What have you done to my family, and who are you? After he laughed, he became serious. Adeline, we let you down for so long, letting you handle everything, making you responsible for everyone else's happiness. Now I see that. Dad, no, let me be done. Are you heading out? We all had to adjust as a result. Your mother is still adapting, but she's trying. And Willow, he sounded proud. She's becoming into the person she could have been if we hadn't lavished her with attention. Miguel tapped his watch and emerged at the doorway. Dad, I have to go. I'll give you a call tonight, but I'm now working on something. Okay? Naturally. Go succeed. Here, we're all right. With my head whirling, I returned to Miguel's office. Everything all right? He inquired. My father suffered a heart attack. Jesus, take a look. Ignore Paris. Family comes first. No. I straightened up. My sister's managing it, and I genuinely think she can for the first time in my life. Are you certain? I imagined Willow, dressed in scrubs, going to work each day. Willow learning the family business. Is Willow finally maturing? Indeed. I'm positive. I accepted the contract for Paris. Where should I sign? I gave Natasha a call that evening to update her on Paris. She let out an excited squeal before becoming serious. I got a call from your mom today regarding your dad. I am aware that you had a heart attack. No. She wants me to inform you apologies. Use those words, actually. I sat quietly and let that to sink in. She mentioned that she had been working on her control issues with a therapist. Natasha hesitated. Adeline is changeable. Yes, I murmured quietly as I glanced at my Paris-bound bag. I'm beginning to think so. Willow texted me and my phone chimed. Heard about Paris. Well done. I mean, for the first time since I'd left, I felt something shift. Not really forgiveness, but the potential. Perhaps each of us had to forge our own paths in order to mature. Paris fulfilled all of my fantasies, and more. But Dad's second heart attack brought me home after just 6 weeks standing outside his hospital room. I scarcely recognized my sister in her professional dress, typing feverishly on her laptop. The insurance company's being tough, Willow said without looking up. But I've got it handled. When was the last time you slept? She finally met my eyes. Under her makeup, dark circles were visible. Perhaps on Tuesday. I'm trying to run the business, handle insurance, and work with Dad's physicians. Mom isn't. She's not dealing well. Where is she? Cafeteria. She stress bakes now. The nurses are getting tired of her muffins. I sat near her. How awful is it? He requires bypass surgery, according to the physicians. Triple bypass. Her voice cracked slightly. Our insurance has a huge deductible, and the business is having trouble. I've been going through the books trying to figure something out. I can help with the medical fees I promised. No. Willow's response was immediate. You've got your life in Paris. I've got this, Willow. I mean it, Hattie. I'm not that helpless girl anymore. She showed me her laptop screen. Look, I've already adjusted some of Dad's company loans. Found ways to cut costs without laying anyone off. I just need to figure out the insurance situation. Mom appeared with a basket of muffins, stopping short when she saw me. Adeline, you're here. Of course I'm here. She sat down the muffins and hugged me awkwardly. I didn't think. With your important Paris job, it's Dad, I said plainly. Tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry for everything. I know it's too late, but… Mom, Willow interrupted. The doctor's here. The surgeon explained the procedure, risks, and recovery time. Mom started crying again. Willow took notes on her laptop. I watched them both, feeling like I'd stepped into an alternate universe. The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning, the doctor concluded. Any questions? The insurance, Willow began, is approved, a familiar voice said behind us. We turned to see Miguel standing there, looking out of place in his designer suit. What are you doing here? I asked. Handling the insurance situation. He handed Willow some papers. The company's international health coverage extends to immediate family of employees on overseas assignments. I had them backdated to when you accepted the Paris position. Willow scanned the documents, her handshake. This covers everything. The surgery, the recovery, all of it. Miguel. I started, but he held up his hand. The Paris team can handle things for a few more weeks. Take care of your family. After he left, Mom turned to me. He seems nice. He's my boss. Mom, a boss who flew from Paris to help with your father's insurance. She raised an eyebrow. People don't do that for just employees. Can we focus? Willow was back to her laptop. We need to prepare for Dad's recovery. He'll need care at home, physical therapy. I'll handle that, Mom said quietly. I've been talking to someone, a therapist, learning to be more present, less controlling. Mom's actually cooking now. Willow added real food, not just stress baking. And you? I asked Willow. How are you really doing with all this? She closed her laptop, terrified, overwhelmed, but also capable. For the first time in my life, I know I can handle things, even if they're hard, even if I'm scared. Your sister's become quite the businesswoman, Mom said proudly. She reminds me of you sometimes. No, Willow shook a head. I'm not trying to be Adeline anymore. I'm trying to be me, just a better version. Dad was awake when we entered his room. My girls. He smiled weakly. All three of you together. The surgery's approved, Willow told him. Everything's arranged. Never doubted you for a minute, sweetheart. He turned to me. Paris treating you well? It can wait, I said. Family comes first. Mom flinched at her own words being turned around, but Dad just smiled. No, princess. Family comes first. Doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It means supporting each other while everyone grows. He squeezed my hand. Go back to Paris after the surgery. We've got this covered. Looking at Willow's quiet confidence, Mom's softened edges, and Dad's proud smile, I realized he was right. This wasn't the family I'd fled from months ago. We'd all changed, grown, learned to stand on our own and support each other in healthier ways. Okay, I agreed, but I'm staying until you're recovered from surgery. Deal, Willow said. Now let's talk about your marketing expertise. The business could use some fresh ideas. We spent the night planning, talking, and actually listening to each other. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And sometimes that's enough. Welcome to Gibson & Gibson Marketing. Willow greeted me at the door of Dad's renovated office building. What do you think? I stared at the modern glass entrance, the sleek new logo, and the bustling employees visible through the windows. I barely recognize it. Wait until you see inside. She led me through, proudly pointing out changes. We've doubled our client base since implementing your marketing strategies. Dad mostly works from home now, but he comes in for the big meetings, and Mom started her own catering business. Turns out all that stress baking had a silver lining. Willow laughed. She's actually really good at it. In the main conference room, Dad sat at the head of the table, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. There's my Paris director. Not anymore, I corrected, hugging him. New York's home base now. Paris is just a quarterly visit. Speaking of New York, Willow pulled out a folder. I have a proposal for you. Oh, we want to open a New York branch. Dad and I talked about it, and she took a deep breath. We'd like you to run it. I blinked. What? As an equal partner, Dad added your sister's ideas and your marketing expertise. You'd be unstoppable. I already have a job. Miguel thought you might say that. Willow smiled knowingly. Miguel, who do you think approached us about a potential merger? Dad's eyes twinkled. Marshall and Brooks's New York office merging with Gibson and Gibson. You'd had the combined operation. I sat down hard. You've been talking to Miguel for months. Willow sat beside me. Look, I know our history is complicated, but we're not the same people anymore. I'm not asking you to save me or fix anything. I'm asking you to be my partner. Equal stakes, equal responsibility. What about Mom? Won't she expect Mom's too busy with her catering company to interfere? Dad chuckled, though she does insist on providing food for all our client meetings. My phone buzzed. Miguel, have they shown you the proposal yet? You knew about this? I texted back. Who do you think suggested it? You've outgrown being just an employee. Time to build something of your own. Willow watched me nervously. I know it's a lot to consider. Show me the numbers, I interrupted. Her face lit up as she pulled out spreadsheets and projections. We spent hours going through them, debating strategies and building on each other's ideas. This wasn't the old dynamic of me fixing her problems. This was true collaboration. One condition, I said. Finally, name it. We keep the offices separate. I run New York. You run Chicago. We coordinate but maintain independence. Already planned for that. She pulled out another document. Draft partnership agreement, completely equal, completely independent. When did you get so corporate? When I realized I was actually good at it. She smiled. Turns out I just needed to find my own path instead of being pushed onto someone else's. Dad stood up this cause for celebration. Your mother's been stress baking all morning, waiting for an answer. I haven't said yes yet. Please, Willow scoffed. I saw your face when you were going through those projections. You're in. She was right. The numbers were solid. The strategy sound and the opportunity perfect. But more than that, the dynamic felt right. A healthy mom was waiting at their house with a spread that could feed an army. Well, we're going to need a New York office warming party, I said. She hugged me, whispering, I'm so proud of who you've become, who you've helped us all become. Moms. Getting sentimental, Willow stage whispered. Quick, someone give her something to bake. We all laughed, naturally. Easily, without the underlying tension that had marked our family gatherings for so long. My phone buzzed again. Miguel, dinner tonight to celebrate as your former boss. And hopefully something more. I smiled, typing back. Yes, to both, looking around at my family. Dad healthy and semi-retired. Mom finding her own passion. Willow standing confidently on her own feet. I realized something profound. Sometimes running away isn't about escape. Sometimes it's about creating enough distance for everyone to grow into who they're meant to be. To Gibson and Gibson, Dad raised his glass, and to the daughters who made it possible. To finding our own paths, Willow added to healthy boundaries, Mom said softly. I raised my glass, looking at these familiar strangers who had become the family I always hoped we could be to new beginnings. And this time, I truly meant it.